Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to the Final Fantasy Early Access event. Thanks again to Wizards Coast for providing me with this promotional early access account. Without further ado, let's just bust open these 6 packs of Final Fantasy and see what sweet rares we get to build with today. Alright, we got 8 rares total this time around, multiple black rares, one that's going to go in any deck that we play. We've got Summon Bahamut here. This is one of the Saga creatures. All of the summons are Saga creatures, so that much like the games, they're going to hit the board, do some really powerful stuff, and then leave the battlefield after a few turns. This is a 9-mana 9/9 that destroys a non-land permanent when you play it, destroys another one the turn after, draws you 2 cards the turn after that, and then deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent when you have to sacrifice it 4 turns later. Incredibly powerful card. It's going to win almost any game that we cast it in. The only issue is getting to 9 mana. This is your reward for reaching 9 mana. Basically, if you get to that mana value with this in your hand, you're probably going to win the game. But you're not always going to make it to 9 mana by the time the game ends. But this is still a card I would play in basically any sealed deck. We've got 2 of the spell lands here, Ishgard the Holy Sea and Zanarkand Ancient Metropolis. The power in these cards is their flexibility, the fact that if you have them in your opening hand, you just play your land for turn and they're perfectly fine. They are tap lands, so there's a little bit of a downside to that, but the added flexibility is that now if you draw them later in the game, it's not a completely dead draw like your 9th or 10th land would usually be, where it's completely useless. Now instead, you can cast Lasting Faith and get a big hero token, or with Ishgard you can cast Faith and Grief and pick up a couple artifacts or enchantments from your graveyard. So these are decent spells if we end up in their colors, but not super huge reasons to be interested in playing those colors. Next up we have Jet from Final Fantasy X. This is a 4-mana 4/3 menace. Whenever Jet deals combat damage to a player, you can exile him and return him to the battlefield transformed. If you do that, he's going to come back as a 7/7 menace. Each opponent discards a card and you draw a card. My god. You do that again the second turn afterward. And then on turn 3, each opponent sacrifices 2 creatures of their choice. Good grief. Yeah, that is tremendously powerful. Okay, so there are some of these creatures that flip into summons, that flip into saga creatures, and then they'll flip back once the saga completes. Jet is not like that. Once you have hit that 3rd ability on Braska's Final Aeon, you have to sacrifice it. You're not going to get Jet back, but the amount of card advantage you get off of this card over time if you flip it is still so worth it. You cast this one spell, and if you hit them, you're now going to get 2 cards ahead, 2 turns in a row. Well, 3 turns in a row, really, right? They discard one and you draw one. So that's a 2-card swing. They discard one, you draw another. That's another 2-card swing. And then on that final chapter, when you sacrifice it, they then have to sacrifice another 2 cards. This is absolutely fantastic, and I would really like to play black if I can. We've also got Kuja, Genome Sorcerer, 2 a black and a red for a 3/4. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell. This token deals 1 to each opponent. That's already fine. Gives you some chump blockers over time, but if you manage to keep enough of them on the board that you have 4 or more wizards total, that would be Kuja and 3 other wizards, you get to flip into Trance Kuja, Fate Defied. This is a 4/6, and if a wizard you control will deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So if you keep all these little wizard tokens around, then by the time that you flip into Trance Kuja, you might be able to kill your opponent off of casting just 1 or 2 spells, because now all those wizard tokens are dealing 2 damage apiece. So that is a pretty nice card, kind of an army in a can. It does all the stuff all by itself. Really, really cool stuff. And then Probably one of the most famous Final Fantasy characters of all time. One-Winged Angel starts playing here. Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier. 2 and a black for a 3/3. When Sephiroth enters or attacks, you can sack another creature and draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses life and you gain a life. And if this is the 4th time this ability has resolved this turn, so if 4 creatures die in one turn, then you get to transform Sephiroth. It's a pretty hard thing to do in 1v1 like in Sealed here, but if you accomplish that, you get an absolutely insane card. You get Sephiroth, One-Winged Angel, a 5/5 flyer. You now get an emblem with Sephiroth's ability of whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses life and you gain a life, and you still keep that ability of whenever Sephiroth attacks, you can sack a creature and draw a card, but now you can sack any number of creatures and draw that many cards. Super, super powerful card. I mean, if this was just the front half, it would already be incredibly good. And this has a little bit of added power to it in that, again, it's very hard to flip, but if it does, then you're going to really, really win the game. So Sephiroth, also incredible. That means both of our black rares are phenomenal, as is our black-red rare. This also seems quite good. It plays super well with Sephiroth because we can sacrifice those little wizard tokens that we're producing every turn. So that's pretty sick. Really hoping we can play a black deck here. We've got Ultima, very self-explanatory card. This is a board wipe. You're just blowing up all the creatures. And last but not least, we have Golbez, Crystal Collector, blue and a black for a 1/4 legendary human wizard. Whenever an artifact you control enters, surveil 1, and then at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more artifacts, return a creature from your graveyard to your hand, and if you control 8 or more artifacts, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. Pretty interesting. This is a pretty strict build around. That's going to make it a lot harder to pull off in Sealed, where we're just at the mercy of whatever we open in these packs. Like if we didn't open up enough artifacts to go with this card, then it's just not going to be good. So this is entirely dependent on how many artifacts we have in the Sealed pool, but pretty unlikely this card plays particularly well. So overall, really sweet rares. Love the black rares. Love the Bahamut as well. We've got a couple different white rares, so maybe black-white could be a direction to go, or of course, with the Kuja Genome Sorcerer, we could go black-red. Either way we play it, we get that Bahamut for any deck we play. This is going to be a pretty sick one. Let's see what we've got for our commons and uncommons, shall we? Although I do want to take a peek. Not technically a rare, but always nice to see that we've opened up some of those bonus sheet cards. These are the Memories of the Past. I forget what exactly their card. I think they're Memories of the Past or something, bonus sheet. But they all have like classic, iconic scenes and artwork from the games and their reprints of different cards. So Memories of Nibelheim here, very, very cool artwork from Final Fantasy VII. 2 and a white, instant, destroy an online permanent. Its controller creates a 1/1. The card itself is not that good in 1v1 because it's worse than just, you know, destroy target creature or destroy target non-land permanent, since you are giving your opponent something back here. So we would rather play almost any other removal spell that we open up in the sealed pool. But if we're really low on removal, we could still play it. And of course, that artwork is iconic. Any other Through the Ages or whatever? Nope, that is our one Through the Ages card this time. How about our colorless and multicolored? See if we've got a lot of good mana fixing here. It looks like we have no colorless mana fixing, except technically Magic Pot, if it dies, gives us a single treasure token, but that's really bad mana fixing for trying to splash around and play a whole ton of colors. What about multicolored stuff here? We have 2 blue-black dual lands, so that helps that a little bit. We got a blue-white, a green-white, and that is it for dual lands. Another thing I like to check out about the multicolored cards is that the uncommons tend to be pretty powerful, potentially even like rare level powerful, like Ultimecia here. Incredibly powerful card, also very iconic villain from Final Fantasy VIII here. 5 mana, 4/5. Whenever Ultimecia enters or attacks, surveil 2. So that means we look at the top 2, we can put them into the graveyard or back on top. But what's really nice about that with her ability is that she can fill the graveyard for her secondary ability, which the secondary ability, of course, 8 mana, exile 8 cards from your grave, flip her into the final form, Ultimecia Omnipotent, and take an extra turn after this one when you do that. So a really, really powerful 8 mana effect if you can get there. And she helps herself get there with all that self-mill. So I kind of like that idea, the blue-black deck here. Now, we don't have a lot of artifacts. We have 4 artifacts total in the sealed pool, and they're all pretty mediocre, so the Golbez is not going to be that good. So the fact that we have Golbez to go with her, not the most exciting thing ever, but 2 Ultimisia is still pretty cool. We've also got the King of the Dwarves over here, good for an equipment deck or a dwarf deck. Cloud of Darkness, good for a self-mill deck, and that... Okay, I was going to say that's it for the multicolored, but not true. We have 2 green-white cards. Garnet plays really well with all the summons, because the summons, as I said before, are these saga creatures that'll sacrifice themselves if they get too high on the lore counters. So with Garnet, you can keep removing lore counters from the summons, so they'll essentially never die. You just get to keep re-triggering their earlier abilities and buffing Garnet at the same time, which is really, really powerful. Renoa, also a really strong card. This one much less of a build around. Renoa is just great always. 5 mana, 4/4, get a 1/1, and whenever Renoa attacks, another creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. So every deck you play is going to have plenty of creatures. You don't really have to build any specific way to get Renoa working well. So she is fantastic. Pretty cool stuff here. Most excited about the potential blue-black deck. We have good fixing there and 2 Ultimisias, and our black is just incredible in general. So that's likely where we're going to end up, but I will take a peek at each color here and see if anything looks particularly good. Most important cards to check out are going to be the removal spells and the bombs. In sealed, so that's the simplest way to try to determine your colors in a pre-release when you don't know the cards super well, like today. We've got 1 removal spell with white Aura Sight. We've got Memories of Nibelheim as well. I'd rather not have to play. And then some decent creatures throughout the mana curve, it looks like. I suppose the summon, the Primal Garuda, is also a removal spell. A little bit narrow, only shoots a tapped creature and only shoots it for 4, but removal nonetheless. White looks perfectly reasonable, not incredibly exciting, but certainly not terrible. We've got the Ultima for somewhat of a bomb there. So solid color out of white. What do we got here in blue? I do want to make sure that I sort my job select cards up into the creature curve, because they count as creatures. Job select means this equipment comes with a 1/1 that it's immediately attached to. So this is essentially a 2 mana 2/1 that gives you all these other abilities later. So that's pretty sweet. So some cheap draw spells, some interaction with ice magic. This is one of the tiered spells. These are all really flexible, which is nice. 2 mana, bounce a creature. 4 mana, put a creature back on top of the deck. 8 mana, shuffle a creature back into the library. That part's not going to be particularly easy to do, but still pretty flexible. We've got card draw here. There's some good removal stuck in the Summoner's Sanctum. A counter spell here with Swallowed by Leviathan. Ooh, Realm Sketching. That's pretty strong. So it's a clone effect. You can clone whatever you want. Something on your opponent's board. Yeah, it's pretty decent. And card collection and the magic card. Kind of funny, since this is a card game. Draw 3, discard 2. If you get 8 or more cards in your grave, you transform it. Well, that's going to help fill the graveyard for Ultimisia. Very similar kind of synergy there, where this also wants to fill that graveyard with a bunch of stuff. So that seems decent in a synergy sense. And then, yeah, decent creatures. Again, nothing super exciting, but a really high quantity of cards here to play around with. Some of them do have some good synergies as well. So I think the blue is pretty decent. And now looking at the black, ooh, Reno and Rude. I don't even know what they do. 2 mana, 2/1 menace. Whenever you deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of their library. You can sack a creature or artifact to play the exiled card this turn. Okay. It's going to be a little difficult to do, but at 2 mana, 2/1 menace up front is not horrible. Bunch of solid filler creatures, and of course, Sephiroth here. Shinra Reinforcements is nice with the Ultimisia style abilities, where we want 8 cards in our graveyard. So that helps out. Some card draw here. Not a lot of removal. We have 1 Sephiroth's Intervention, 1 cornered by Black Mages. Not a huge fan of the sacrifice style removal spells like this, since your opponent gets to choose what they're sacrificing if they have more than 1 creature on board. But it does still seem okay. I don't think we're going to have a particularly high creature count, especially if we are in blue-black. But I suppose this is 4 mana for 2 tapped 2/2s at worst. Even without the flashback. The flashback is where you need a bunch of creatures in your grave. Yes, it's probably still good. Circle of Power is definitely nice with some of the stuff that cares about wizards. So if our red is really good, our black does have some wizard synergy stuff going on to help out with the black-red rare that we have instead of going for the blue-black here. Yeah, black looks pretty solid. I mean, the big reason I want to play it, of course, is Sephiroth and Jet just being incredibly powerful cards. I'm a little low on the removal, lower than I would like to be, and the creature curve isn't super great, but there's plenty to work with here to get us playing the color to get these really powerful spells into our deck. Red. This looks pretty decent. Good curve, lots of cards to choose from. Choco Comet is fantastic. Spend a bunch of mana, blow up whatever we want, and get a 2/2 bird at the same time. Another good wizard synergy card here. 3 mana, 2/1 prowess. Whenever the queen attacks, create a wizard token. We've got the girlfriend to free, the Guardian Force. Discard a card, draw a card a couple turns in a row. Get some mana later. Sabatender getting some ping damage in there. Don't like the play Blitzball card very much. Like, in order to flip it, you have to deal 6 to your opponent. It feels like most of the time, if you're getting like a big 6-point swing into your opponent, you're already in a really, really good position. But then you do get a double strike equipment that is kind of big. It might be better than I'm giving it credit for. Yeah, red seems solid. What I don't like about our red is we only have the one piece of interaction, the one Choco Comet. And I'm only like really impressed by like one of our other cards. I think the Queen looks really nice here. Call the Mountain Chocobo's also probably pretty decent. But then the Hill Giant style cards, the Laughing Mad, the Rapier, these all feel really filler outside of that. Green looks solid. We got the Fat Chocobos. I've been absolutely loving those cards so far in the early access. We've also got the T-Rexisar as a great way to stabilize. Just a giant trampler that gains life when you play it. Some decent creatures here. 3 mana, 3/3. Reach. 3/2 that gets +1/+1 every time you play a creature. A couple of the 2 mana Chocobos that you can flash back later. Yeah, green is literally all commons. I guess there's one Torgal here, but it's basically just a bunch of solid commons. But I do like the commons. There's no removal or interaction or anything going on there, though. All right, so overall, I think it is going to be blue-black or black-red here. Black just has, the wildest rares by a lot. Because red is really only giving us the one piece of interaction, and that was the weakest aspect of our blue, that would be the big thing convincing me to play red over blue would be if it had a bunch of removal. I think I'm just going to go for the blue instead. Because in blue I have a counter spell and I have a full-on removal spell. So I have just as much interaction, if not more, if you count the ice magic. And I think outside of that, blue was also just a little more exciting as a color because I like having the 2 Ultimisias instead of just like the 1 Kuja. We also get a Golbez here, although I just don't think I'm playing a lot of artifacts. I could still play Golbez just as like a 2 mana 1/4. Not a horrific stat line. But I don't think, unfortunately, that this sealed pool has the mana fixing to really play 3 colors. You can technically do it without any mana fixing, but you're going to have a really inconsistent mana base. Yeah, we have not a single dual land towards blue, black, and red, and no fixing. There's no treasure tokens. There's no ways to search for a basic land or anything like that. It's a pretty big bummer. Because I would splash in Kuja here if I just had a little bit of good fixing, but there's just absolutely none in the sealed pool. All right. So, are there any other solid artifacts I could play to go with Golbez if I really want? I suppose Instant Ramen is, I mean, it's filler, but playable filler. Draw a little card there. There's a 2 mana 2/1 with Monk's Fist. Probably not Magic Pot or Elixir. Those are really, really slow. Okay, let's cut 10 cards here. Wow, our mana curve is not going to be good. Although if we add the job select cards, that ups the 2 mana creature count quite a bit, so that's pretty good. So for creatures, we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's a relatively low creature count. 15 to 17 is the average mid-rangey kind of drafted sealed deck, leaning a little bit on the aggressive end. We could play pretty controlling, pretty low creature count here and cut 1 or 2, just because this would be if I play even all of the most mediocre creatures in the sealed pool. I kind of want to cut a couple 3 mana cards, make this mana curve a little bit better, and just focus a little bit more on the spells and the creatures in that sense. We do have the Final Days, which plays like a creature as well, so that helps the creature count a little bit too. So I think we can cut 1 or 2 like 3 mana creatures out of here. Although again, for mana curve purposes, I should probably move Quistis over, because she's going to let us flashback something from our grave, so we need additional mana up. I've got a lot of good 2 mana instants and sorceries, so it is possible we can cast her on like turn 5, cast a 2 mana spell alongside her, so I'll put her at like 5 mana on the mana curve as the cheapest time we'll be playing her. Still gets me to be able to cut one of these other cards. I like the Shinra Reinforcement synergy with the double Ultimecia. So I think I'm actually going to go for the Furrier. This is a decent way to clear out like a really big blocker on your opponent's board. If you just chump attack with some smaller card, you can try to finish it off with this enter effect. But it's a little bit narrow, especially if we're going to run a deck that's a little lower on the creature count, like this deck. I think Furrier is probably the weakest of the 3 mana creatures, and that's the easiest place to cut a creature out of the deck here. Yeah, I'm fine with that. And then 9 spells to cut. Oof. We have to cut so many cards here that a simpler way that we can do it is to just move everything over here to the side and then just drag in however many cards we need, just bringing in the best stuff first. So counting just the creatures that we have right now, we're at 14 cards in this deck, and we want to be at 23 spells and 17 lands. So that means we get to bring 9 cards back in here. So let's just drag the best, most important cards in here until we're at 9 total. So initially, just immediately, Sephiroth's Intervention. I mean, massive flavor win with Sephiroth in the deck as well, but it's also a really excellent removal spell. 4 mana, instant speed, it only needs 1 black mana, so it's really hard to get mana screwed off it as well. Gain some life when you do it. Fantastic removal. More interaction, we'll run the Ice Magic as well. Bounce spell for only 2 mana, so you can blow up any token you need with that, but you can also just slow your opponent down with that, or the 4 mana ability. If you make it all the way to 8 mana, you can deal with whatever you need. So that's pretty excellent. We also have Stuck in the Summoner's Sanctum. Another instant speed removal spell. 3 mana, flash this in, tap whatever enchanted artifact or creature you want, keep it tapped, and keep all of its activated abilities unable to be used. So about as good as blue's removal spells get. Got a counter spell out of blue that's also decent in a deck that's going to be running some self-mill and trying to fill the graveyard. So I like that. Swallowed by the Leviathan. It also helps fill the graveyard because when we cast it, we surveil too. So that's pretty sick. Another card that has great synergy is this card collection side quest. It cares about getting to 8 cards in our graveyard, and it helps us get there with the discard 2 when we play it. So I like that a lot. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back into the deck. Let's put 4 more in there. Resentful Revelation seems like another really synergistic card. If we mill this or surveil this with anything else, then we have its flashback ability later, but it's also good at putting cards in our grave and letting us find the specific cards that we're looking for, so I like that as some good card draw there. I'm also pretty interested in a Magic Damper in this deck. Being able to give one of our creatures hexproof is going to protect it from targeted removal spells, and we have a lot of standalone threats in here that we're trying to keep on the board. Sephiroth, Jet, Ultimecia, and Bahamut. Making sure that those don't die to removal is pretty big, and being able to do that for only 1 mana is pretty excellent. So Magic Damper is going to play really well in this deck. And just 2 more additions. There is an awkward thing going on here with the Cornered by Black Mages, which is that if we draw our Stuck in the Summoner's Sanctum first and then draw this later, they can just sacrifice whatever I put the Summoner's Sanctum onto, and that would be incredibly bad for me. That makes this card do basically nothing. So I really, really don't like that. But anytime that I don't draw the two cards together, they're both fine. I think this is just better by itself than Black Mages, so if I want to run only one of the two, I'm definitely picking Stuck in the Summoner's Sanctum. What I'm debating here is if it's going to be worth running both of them. It is possible. Just clearing out a creature, even if it's your opponent's weakest creature, it's going to make it harder for them to block a menace creature like Jet, and getting the attack in with Jet is a huge, huge deal. So there are some reasons to really just want to be whittling down their board, even if we're whittling down the weakest creature on their board. So that is something to consider here. I think I will go ahead and play it anyway. And then one final edition, probably play like the Final Days here, just because it's funny for that to be the final card. But also there's enough surveilling and self-mill and stuff going on. I think it'll be decent even in a lower creature count deck. 4 mana for 2 2/2s, and then later in the game maybe get 5 or 6 of them for 6 mana. So run all of those, cut all of these. Looks like a very solid blue-black self-mill kind of deck. Some good tempo stuff here, some great late-game cards, some really good standalone threats. Very, very exciting blue-black deck here. Got a lot of villains here, a lot of iconic cards with the Ultimecias and the Sephiroth, Bahamut. It's going to be a really, really cool deck today, so I'm very excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay. All right, here we are on the play for game 1. Kind of just chilling. We get to mill ourselves, gain a little bit of life, have a really full graveyard for the Swallowed by the Leviathan for later. And that Quistis Speecher's Truant 2 can help us recast the Ice Magic, which I don't mind casting right now against a mana dork like that to slow our opponent down. Keep them off of very high mana counts. Oh, we milled an Ultimecia. That's disappointing. But there's a second one in there. They are legendary. Goo Gardener's back. There's the second Ultimecia I was talking about. That was an awkward draw, though, because now I miss a land drop if I don't cycle Marlborough. And if I do cycle Marlborough, I don't get to hold up Swallowed by the Leviathan at all, which is an issue. Yeah, I think I need to hit my land drop here, so they do get to resolve a spell this turn. Luckily, if we hit another land, I can go Quistis and then recast the bounce spell next turn. Not if it's another black source. I do need a blue, because I do have to spend my mana. Oh wait, no I don't. Mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. Oh yeah, she can cast instants of sorceries from opponents' graveyards too. That is pretty cool. Alright, well, I don't really want to Ultimecia against a black deck without some form of protection, so I'm going to Quistis away the Chocobo token. The Fat Chocobo is a Saga, so it will die eventually to its own effect. But it will hit pretty hard until then. Genova! Oh boy. That's horrific. At least they're putting counters on the creature that's going to die anyway, but that's not good. Man, yeah, I need to find removal for Genova and kill Genova before the Chocobo sacks itself, because when the Chocobo sacks itself, they're going to draw like 6 if Genova's still around. Oh, that's bad. Okay, well, I think we Monk's Fist and hold up Swallowed by the Leviathan. Counter whatever they do here, so we can get that as the Surveil. I mean, if I triple block, they draw 6, and if I wait for it to sack itself, they draw 6. Yeah, Genova's wild. Kind of rough how things lined up for us here. I don't think we had a good opportunity to hold up the counterspell for Genova. Okay, that we can counter, right? Yeah, I got 4 cards in grave. That'll be like a decent creature that also makes me sack a card. And they sack their own card when it comes into play, which is actually valuable for them. Alright, we gotta get rid of the lands. We need to find removal. I mean, as much as I would like the mana towards trying to flip Ultimecia, if I don't kill Genova, I'm just gonna lose to this card really badly. Bahamut, technically removal, but way too expensive to kill Genova before they're up 6 cards ahead of me. Alright, Genova's gonna do some Genova things here. At this point, I think we are keeping lands. We're just going to have to deal with being very, very far behind in card advantage. Because at least they don't have the power on board to really put much pressure on us this turn. They're just going to have a million cards. Chocobo Racetrack is incredible. Played that in our first sealed deck and it was fantastic. Turning every land they have into another bird. It's going to be quite powerful here. 2 mana removal for Ultimecia. Buff Gardener. They do indeed have the 2 mana removal for Ultimecia. And they still have to discard the hand size because they drew so many. To equip. +1/+0. Could threaten like a combat trick here. It's not like Quistis is doing any blocking here. That's so bold. Genova's so strong, and there's a 2 mana instant -2/2. Alright, we didn't get a couple free points of damage in, but we tried. I don't think there's really a reason not to. It's not like they're going to have haste in Golgari. I guess if we had the 2 mana -2... Yeah, no, that was a good block. Because if we had the 2 mana -2/2, then we could just sack an artifact or creature and make it -6/6 anyway. Oh, getting double Chocobo Racetracked too. This is a brutal game. All we needed was like 1 removal spell for Genova, and it would be going wildly differently though, because the only reason they drew into double Racetrack is because they gotta draw 6 and deal a million off of Genova. Go to 9. Hey, Jet, you are pretty dang bad right now. Top deck a land, please. Perfect. Means I get to play Jet. Pass the turn. But now they're getting 2 Chocobos a turn just by playing lands. Genova's still popping off. Double Black Mage's Rod. So now we're taking 2 off of every non-creature spell they play. Sure. Now 4, because the Circle of Power as well. Alright. We are dead, I think. I've got 5 creatures. They have 6 attackers. I guess it's not quite lethal. If I'm not miscounting here. Okay, it's not quite lethal, but I can't kill Genova, so it's basically lethal, because Genova's going to just keep being completely unbeatable. I mean, along with the rest of the board that gets to stick around. But despite dying to a million other cards, it's the million other cards that they got into by drawing 5,000 cards off Genova. We basically just lost to a Genova here. It's one of those kind of bomb rares that you just need to have removal for immediately, and we did not have removal in the hand unless we had just sandbagged our bounce spell and never cast it. There's Sephiroth's intervention. Fashionably late. Disappointing. Plus it's a tap land, so I couldn't even cast it this turn. If I kept it in hand. Well, that's disappointing. I mean, we're dead no matter what we choose here, so just do it that way. That is 0-1 heading into game 2. All right, here we are for game number 2 with a really disappointing hand that I should mulligan if we were in a competitive event. But I'm 1 mana away from Sephiroth no matter what land I draw, so I'm just not going to mulligan here, even though I technically probably should, statistically speaking. 2 blue spells in the hand, no blue sources. It doesn't do anything if it doesn't draw land. But it drew a land, and then it drew the worst possible draw, the 9 mana spell. The 2 land opener. Finn the Fangbearer is Vayne Cardus Solidor. Cool. Let's corner you by black mages. While they still only have 1 creature on board, we can get the scary one out of there, get the Death Toucher out of there so I can actually get some swings in. Sephiroth plays really, really well with the wizard tokens. Just sack a wizard, draw a card. Pretty into that. I don't like all this mana they have untapped. The instant speed removal pretty easily, but I don't have any way to bait out removal. What I could do is just sit here and do nothing until I draw a blue source and try to have Magic Damper up for Sephiroth. In fact, I didn't even realize that I got to Sephiroth off of the Enter trigger. Because that's a thing, I should have not played my land per turn. That way, if Sephiroth sacked the Black Mage and then drew an island, I could play the island and have Magic Damper up. That would have been better. Alas, we did not hit the island. We drew another blue card. Anyway. Gigantode. It's 4/4 for now. Oh my god. Well, I don't think I'm blowing up a 4/4. This does turn into a 6/6 soon enough. Alright, I might blow it up now, because this is a creature that's going to die to its own ability later anyway. Now I'm taking 5 a turn off of all the Stampede effects. Yeah, it's a significant enough clock. Good amount of damage. We'll get the flavorful kill there. Sephiroth with Sephiroth's intervention. This doesn't seem to be a flower girl of any kind, though. Let's play Ahriman, because that's the draw. It's the only castable spell. And pass the turn. I got like 9 blue sources in this deck somewhere chilling. Because we got our 2 dual lands, 7 islands. No, but they find the Chocobo kick for Sephiroth before we get to do anything else with him. Fair enough, he has lasted quite a while. This is going to die eventually anyway, so I'm not going to trade my Death Toucher into it when I can keep it around to trade into a bigger creature that will not sacrifice itself. Plus, this has a really good ability if we draw any cards like Monk's Fist. It plays really, really well with that card. Because I can sacrifice the 1/1 token and I can sacrifice the equipment to draw a card. And we're in a position right now I really, really need the lands towards Bahamut, no matter what lands they are. but also just need ideally like the blue source as well for all these other cards. So we're definitely digging. We haven't played a land this turn yet. And there you go. There's Magic Damper to keep the Ari man around. And my apologies if I'm mispronouncing anything. There are a lot of Final Fantasy games. I have not looked up how to pronounce everything, so I only know how to pronounce the ones from the few that I have some experience with that I've played. Which is, what, 7, 8, 10, 14? Pretty much. And again, some experience. I haven't beaten all those. 13 I've got some experience with as well. That one has so many names that confuse me. The Fall Sea, the Pulseless Sea. I could not tell you anything that happened in that game, even though I played like 20 hours of it. Okay. Well, I could recast something from a grave. Not that interested in it, though. I think I'm still really just digging for mana, so I'm going to sack this hero. Okay, I should attack with it first. Technically. But then sack the 1/1. And then play the Wyvern, I think. Although I could also just hold up the counterspell at this point. That doesn't seem the worst. I think I'd rather cast the Wyvern, just to have more creatures on board to sacrifice to this card. Although if I don't hit the mana here, the counterspell also surveils for me, so I didn't hit my land for turn anyway. I really, really, really want to. I can surveil 2 towards them for next turn. We know our opponent has all spells in hand as well. Yeah, that was pretty solid luck there with the counterspell timing. There's a land for us. Goodbye, Reno and Rude. This is land 7 out of 9. Play Jet and the Wyvern. Yeah, Jet is just strong enough to skip drawing a card off of Ariman this turn, because Jet is insane. Get ready for the QT. We gotta hit him with the Jet shot. Alright, down to 11. Here's the Wyvern, and then basically, unless they have Ultima, the board wipe, we have a pretty demanding lead on this game. And even if they have the Ultima, we're only 2 lands away from getting to Bahamut now. Ooh, Delivery Moogle. Search your library and graveyard for an artifact mana value 2 or less. Reveal it, put it in your hand. That's a really flexible card. That's a nice tutor. I like that a lot. They're going to deliver some instant ramen. That's pretty adorable, but that's one of the cards you can search for. Is there an artifact in their grave? No, there's no artifact in the grave. White Mage's Staff. Oh, that's right, because there's all the job select equipment, you can find some creatures with the Delivery Moogle relatively easily. Okay. It's got the flyer now. I definitely don't want Ariman to trade into that. Jet is going to go wild here. It's time for the Jet shot. No. Don't have a spell? Okay, it's just a combat trick to save the Moogle. That's fine. As long as Jet remains, I will absolutely take that action, make them discard a card, draw a card. Find an ice magic? Sure. I'm not casting Quistis here because there's no spells in any graveyard I desperately need to recast, so I can just hold on to this ice magic for instant speed interaction. There's some mana ramp, and they get a +1/+1 counter onto the board. Moogle's a 4/3 now. There's the White Mage's Staff. They are dead in one menacing attack if I clear out one of their creatures. So I'll just put the Moogle back on their deck here and get this one wrapped up. Some Ice Magic, and there's the concession that is lethal on board from Braska's final Aeon. That is 1-1. Balanced it out here as we head into game number 3. Alright, here we are for game number 3. This is a much more keepable two-lander because we have Resentful Revelation. It's going to go a really long way towards digging towards that blue source. I mean, it's going to go 3 cards towards digging towards it, but that's usually going to be enough here statistically. We also have some really nice synergy, again, with all the sacrifice cards have been working really well with this Monk's Fist. This card's been a massive overperformer. It was kind of a filler addition to the deck, but it just happens to work really, really well with cards like Reno and Rude as well, where we have to sack an artifact or creature in order to cast something off their ability. All right, that's an awkward draw. Luckily, I've got multiple 2-mana spells. So I could play like Reno and Rude here. Yeah, I can play Reno and Rude here. And I can still play Monk's Fist next turn, attack them. If I hit a land out of their deck, I can sack one of the 2 halves of this card to play the land out of their deck, and if I don't, I can just play the Dark City tapped. I'll have the mana up for that. Got Ninja's Blades. When those creatures deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card, and the opponent loses life equal to the discarded card's mana value. Alright, that's pretty spooky. And Ambrosia Whiteheart is a Chocobo here, so it gets +1/+0 whenever they play a land. Alright, these are not good for me. Think I need to just play on the defensive here. Since we're on the draw, they've got a lot of damage out there for a lot of pressure. I can just do all that, play the Monk's Fist. Now I'll have the blue mana up next turn, so I can kill this token with Ice Magic, with Blizzard. Kane. 2/4 flyer. When Kane deals combat damage to us, we gain control of it. And then they draw 2 and get 2 treasure tokens, but then I hit them back. I hit them back, I draw 2 and get 2 treasure tokens. This is a weird card. I'm probably supposed to kill it. And cornered by black mages makes that a really simple play, so might as well. Yeah, because it's going to be doing a little bit more for them than it is for me, because they have the Ninja Blades, giving them that ability as well, if they equip that to Kane. Cloudbound Moogle. 3/4 flyer. Okay. Could cast Ultimacy here, but then I need to be ready to be hit for 4 in this guy. Again, it is only draw a card, discard a card. And we lose some life. So that's really not the absolute end of the world to take 1 hit. Let's play Ultimacia here. Let's get Surveilling. Comes the big hit. Take 4 and then take whatever the discard is. Watch it be the 9-mana Bahamut that we're playing. Nope, just the plains. Squall. Ooh, a Danitha Squall. Oh, that's classic. That's like the FMV style CG kind of artwork that you see in the game. That's cool. Yeah, that's a really cool looking card. But just a 2/2. First Strike Vigilance Life. It does not do a lot here. So let's draw our card. I think I grabbed the counterspell here, but I am going to have to just Sephiroth's intervention before we get hit. But it'll be nice to have in the future. And then I need to not attack with Ultimecia so I can block Squall and shoot the Moogle. Don't know the set well enough to know if they have good protection spells in white. I'm hoping that they don't, and I can do this at instant speed, just in case they play something insane main phase 1. But Rat is not insane. And also, if we wait till the Moogle's attacking and blow it up then they can't, like, pre-combat move the equipment over. Yep, move the equipment post-combat. That is all for now. That's 4, 5, 6, land number 7. We are 1 mana away from Ultimecia going crazy. And I'd rather hold up the counterspell than tap out just to draw 1, so let's pass. Also, how much is Ice Magic? 8 mana for Blizzaga? It's 4 mana for Blizzara. And I can spend 4 on that and 3 on the Leviathan. Yeah, I don't think I'm equipping Monk's Fist. If I equip Monk's Fist, I can only cast one of these two. I mean, I could cast both if I just do Blizzard instead of Blizzara. But getting access to the bigger part seems good. Tap a non-enchantment creature every turn? That's actually bad enough I want to counter it here. This is dual purpose. First of all, I get to surveil and try to make sure I hit the land. But also, like, the fact that it taps any non-creature... Or sorry, any non-token, non-enchantment. Since it taps any non-enchantment creature, it could tap our giant 7/7 menace and stop that from attacking turn over turn, which we obviously don't want them to do. All right, well, they cast a combat trick here and we counter it with Ice Magic. Get up another card. Yep, feels great. And here we go, 2 turns in a row, baby. It's gonna be sick. Get a surveil so we know what we're drawing, and it's not going to be lands. I mean, I guess it could be, but it's much less likely now. It's not going to be those lands. End step. Kaboom! We did the thing! Oh, Ultimecia final form. Time compression. One of the coolest final bosses. All the weird, stretchy stuff and going across all the different stages. Yeah, let's go. Concession from our opponent. That is pretty much game, and we are 2-1, heading into game number 4. All right, here we are on the play now for game number 4. We're 2-1 right now, and we've got a pretty solid start. This is, despite having both of our colors immediately, probably the riskiest 2-lander we've kept, because it has no guaranteed way to do any digging to try to draw more mana, but there it is right there. I'm going to play Golbez instead of Ahriman. Golbez can block the 3/2 without dying, and also, if I exile a land from their deck, I could sack Golbez to cast the card. Okay, I'm not going to sack Golbez for a card I can't cast. Playing Golbez also lets me hold up the Magic Damper, but honestly I wasn't even factoring that in. I didn't put that together till now. Cool, there's their own Death Touching blocker. There's my own Wyvern. Gives me some good cards to sacrifice to Reno and Rude. The problem is if I attack with Reno and Rude now, they just double block, and I have no good response to that. No way to get an artifact out here to surveil towards another land. I guess I just play the Wyvern, honestly. It blocks their flyer. It also attacks into it. So we get to be up a little creature token here. There's Resentful Revelation. They're going to surveil one and then draw one of the top three. Oh, they milled a flashback card, the Call of the Mountain Chocobo. So that'll be some good value for them. There's a land for us. It is a tap land, so I can't get the attack in here this turn with Reno and Rude, but I can send the flyer in. That's a good trade. I will take that. And here's our Ahriman. Or Ahriman. Oh, -2 to everybody. Yikes. Great rare there. Does make our final days a lot better, so that's nice. We're just going to blow this up before it becomes a giant 8/8 and auto wins. Because if they kill Golbez, they make that an 8/8 flyer now and just crush me. But just the board wipe has already kind of crushed me. That was massive. That was like a 5-for-1 or something because they get a giant 4/4 and then just basically one-sided board wipe at the same time. There's another Call of the Mountain Chocobo for some mana here. Seems like it's going to be pretty strong in this format because there's a lot of good high mana value stuff to do. Speaking of, there's Ultimecia. I'm not going to cast her until I have an extra blue. I think. Yeah, I'm not going to cast her until I draw another land so that I can hold up Magic Damper. Let's just get a couple 2/2s. Our opponent's got some excellent graveyard value going on here. They can recast Garland as Chaos the Endless and do a bunch of other stuff, and they are going to get Chaos. That's just a 5/5 flyer, but really good value to have that just tacked on to the other card. Here's Ultimecia. I like Marlborough, but I need 2 lands to get to Ultimecia, and what I can do here is mill the Marlborough, and then just play Final Days next turn. Instead, yeah. Make sure I'm just drawing a land every turn. Six cards in graveyard, so I will need to surveil. Because I'm also going to be exiling the Final Days here. I'm going to have to surveil twice in a row. This might be a little difficult. And if they have a second removal spell, they also just get to guaranteed kill Ultimecia before she triggers. They might not attack with Chaos, because if they do, then they know that I can attack with Ultimecia and surveil again. So yeah, they're not going to attack with Chaos. Rough. Because I'm going to need 2 more cards in my grave now to get Ultimecia going. Because I don't think I can afford to not just get all these 2/2s this turn. Do nothing with my 7 mana. So now we actually have to draw some spells. Even if I get to the 8 mana, I'm not going to have the graveyard to go with Ultimecia. Ooh, fight on their bomb rare. Literally wipe every 2/2 I just played. Seems very good. I can surveil 2 now at least. Because they attacked with Chaos. I think if they didn't attack with Chaos, I'd have like no shot right now. So I'm pretty happy they did here. Gives us something to do here. Those are good draws, but I can't afford to not just flip Ultimecia immediately. And to do that, I need all of the cards in grave. Okay, good draw, good draw. Oh my god, are we gonna win this? There's a genuine chance here. I can never flip this card collection, but I can draw 3, discard 2. Sage's thing's pretty good here, and it surveils with Golbez. I think I'm doing the Sage thing. Got the mana to re-equip here. Surveil that land away. One of those creature attacks, untap an attacking creature. So I get to attack with Ultimecia and untap her. Put them to 5, and we'll see what they got here. We're still losing to just like one more removal spell. But we get through here. They're dead to one more Ultimecia swing. Okay, they played 3 Death Touchers this turn. It's gonna be pretty hard to get that one Ultimecia swing in, I would say. And that draw is certainly not it. What do we have off Resentful Revelation? Quistis could do it. Quistis helps a bunch, but doesn't work right now. Can recast their own Thunder Magic against them, I guess. Next turn, I'm trying to see what I'm doing with this Quistis. I mean, it was Quistis or land, so obviously it was Quistis. Yeah, I guess I'm recasting Thunder Magic and killing 1 card. Because I had to exile my whole grave, so it's not like I can cast anything out of my own grave, and I can't fight on and pick up any cards. Okay, Quistis is not going to be enough. Oh, no. This has been a swingy game. I think off of double Xenosing us, they killed like at least 8 of our creatures this game with board wipes. There's VV getting a bunch of mana. Jet is sadly not enough here either. Ultimecia doesn't have flying. I could cast their own Resentful Revelation. You know what I'm digging for at this point. Sephiroth, actually. If I find Sephiroth, that's the 1 out. We dig for Sephiroth and try to push damage off of that triggering. That still wouldn't do it because they have lifelink here. And I'm dead in 1 swing in the sky. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright. Sadly, I think they have us no matter how we play it here, but we'll see. That's the closest to an out. And we didn't draw Sephiroth anyway. Can Shinra reinforcements and gain a couple life. And maybe not die next turn. Otherwise I'm dead on board. Mill Bahamut and Sephiroth? My 2 outs are gone. Oh, the sequencing. Thanks, Arena. Very cool. Hey, it's their own Ultimecia. That's pretty sick. They don't have nearly enough cards in their grave, though. So they're going to need a few big surveil attacks from her if they want the extra turn. So we're just going to be dead before their Ultimecia flips anyway. Alright, well, I mean, we milled both of our bombs at the exact same time, so now we just don't have any outs to this position. Monk's Fist is certainly not it. And cornered by black mage is also pretty awful at this point. Got 3 cards left in the deck. And we are dead in the sky. That is GG. That is 2 and 2. Really, card of the game here is Xenos by a lot. This card soloed away like 8 of our creatures. Just incredible value for our opponent. Got us pretty far behind. Surprising we got as close as we did there, that we actually managed to flip the Ultimecia. Still, I think, a somewhat impressive showing from the deck, considering that we got double board wiped there. So 2 and 2, heading into game 5. All right, here we are for game 5. Another 2-lander. Doing good on hitting the lands, so hopefully we can do so again. But again, out of all the 2-landers, this one really, really needs to draw the 3rd land. And has no way to help guarantee that we do so. I highly doubt I'd be willing to sack a card here. Okay, yeah, I can only cast the card the turn that I hit them, the turn that I exile it, so there's not a single card. Unless there's some crazy 0-mana card on the bonus sheet that I haven't seen yet. Okay, that is not a 0-mana card. So I will not be casting Venat. Side quest, our opponent's going fishing. So at the beginning of their upkeep, look at the top card. If it's an artifact or creature, they can reveal it, put it into their hand, and then flip this. So it draws them a card and then turns into a land. That's actually not the worst, because if it flips, it ramps them up. So it's draw a card and play a land. Draw a card and get a plains on board. Kind of worth the mana cost. Okay, do I have any expendable creatures here? Nope. If I hit something good, I'm sacking Shinra Reinforcements. Gotta be 2 mana or less. Would I rather have a 2/1 lifelink than a 2/3? Nah. Because that also means like not playing my Flying Death Toucher this turn. I'd rather just play that. I don't really end up a card by sacking Reinforcements and playing that. I just have basically the same board. Ooh, Sarah from 13. First legendary creature you cast each turn. Costs 2 less to cast. You can have come on your turn if you control 2 or more legends, you can transform her. And then all of your legends cost 2 less and get +2/+2. Okay. It's pretty cool. Those are triggered abilities. So if I put Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum on her, she can still flip into the Crystallized Sarah. And that would not be good value for me. So I think I have to Sephiroth's Intervention. If we don't exile something really good from their deck, then that'll be the play this turn. 1/3. It does give us mana, but I don't think it's better than just killing Sarah here. That may be completely different games, but still feels like something Sephiroth would do. Alright. They scoop them up there. They're missing land drops. They don't have enough creatures to stop all this stuff. That is 3 and 2. Heading into game number 6. Alright, game number 6. This is a mono blue hand. I do have a 2-mana spell that's playable. I need 2 black sources to get to Cornered by Black Mages. This is probably the millionth hand that I'm supposed to mulligan, but I really want to play Jet. I need to draw a black source towards them, but if we can get there. Turn 4 Jet is insane. Super scary card. No, not the 9-mana Bahamut again. Bahamut's probably going to be the biggest underperformer by the end of this draft because we have not managed to cast it once. We've hit the 9 mana, I think, in one game, but then we milled Bahamut. Yeah, this by far the greediest hand. But I want to jet somebody. And worst case scenario, we get to play another game immediately. Look at that. That was pretty dang lucky. Let me just see if we can't keep the luck rolling here. All I need is any land in the deck now. About half the deck left is lands. I'm not going to quest this for no value. Just for the 2/2. So they plain cycle it up. They got white, black, and green over there. There's the Blitz Ball for more mana. Missed the very pivotal land drop. But fair enough, because we did hit the land last turn. Fat Chocobo. That is a very good card here, because it plays really well against my removal. Where it's got another creature on their board, even if I trap it. Activated abilities can't be activated. It'll still give their whole board trample for a few turns. But I kind of have to stop the damage. Saga abilities are triggered abilities, so it's still going to do the trample thing. And then sack itself eventually. But I'm just going to stop the 8 damage here by keeping it off of us. Not a great trade for me. How bad do I need to stop this damage? I don't think I need to stop it that badly. Sephiroth's Intervention, the Death Toucher. We have hit the jet mana, and I can't not play Jet here, can I? I'm really tempted not to, just in case they have yet another removal spell. But if I don't play Jet here, I'm not playing anything this turn, because I'm not going to play Quistis without recasting anything. And we have no guarantee we're drawing another land next turn. Tragically, they do have the additional removal immediately. Now they have a pretty good spell in their grave for us to recast with Quistis for not too much mana. Now our game plan is to get to 9. We can survive long enough. We're not under a ton of pressure, so it's possible. I mean, Quistis trades into the one card that's beating me down right now. Just nothing to recast in Graves currently. Well, no, I can just get a 2/2 with this battle menu. I guess that's where we're at here. I mean, they have a 2/2 and a 1/1 on board. This is better than casting nothing for the turn. The only part I don't like about this is it means that I don't have extra removal for later. Because I'm kind of casting the removal right now just to get some blockers out. Technically, I have Cornered by Black Mages, but that's not going to work if they still have smaller creatures on board. It's just going to end up killing the town greeter, most likely. Alright, Ripperoo. We shall die to another fantastic mythic rare. This card is 12 2/2 knights and a 3/3 indestructible knight. And then it buffs all 12 of the knights and makes them indestructible for the rest of the game. Well, there goes this draft. At least the hand played out pretty well. We drew decently here. We kept them off the early plays. They just had the bigger, bombier mythic. And that'll do it in sealed. That is incredibly dead. Just sack this Chocobo draw card now off of the Ariman, since we're saving Quistis. And I think even through a cornered by black mages, I'm going to be dead on board. I'll have 4 blockers against 7 attackers, which means 3 creatures will get in for at least 2 damage apiece. And yeah, that's exact lethal here. Yeah, this card is nuts. Good grief. Everything right now is kind of irrelevant. We're just already dead on board. Should just wait till they go for the swing. Yeah, might as well. And there it is. 3 and 3 will be the record this time around. At least it's not a loss. It's a 50-50 run, an average run. But I would have liked to do a little better. I think this deck was really fun. Big fan of Ultimisia. I think she was pretty spectacular. The biggest underperformer by far being Bahamut. Died with that card in our hand a couple times because we just could not make it to the 9 mana that we needed to cast it. And we also milled it the one game that we actually could have cast it. We actually had 9 mana, so this was the biggest underperformer. It was actively detrimental to us, which is why, you know, cards like this can be so powerful, is when they are in your hand and you don't have 9 mana, they are actively hindering you. So as strong as this card looks, our games actually would have played better if this was basically anything else, if it was anything castable. For like 4 or less mana, it would have helped us out in several of those positions. So that was the card that played the worst for us. It doesn't mean that it is a super bad card. It just means we didn't draw it at the right times, and maybe this is not the right deck for it. Maybe you actually do. Maybe the set actually is fast enough. You do have to play it in like a green deck that has a bunch of ways to ramp up into it. You can't try to play it in just like a solid blue-black deck that can kind of surveil towards it. So that was the biggest underperformer. Biggest overperformer, probably Monk's Fist. This was a really filler card that I was just like, all right, whatever, we'll put a 2-mana 2/1 in there. But it has a lot of good synergy with the sack cards. All the sack cards in the set seem to care about artifacts or creatures. So being able to sacrifice it to the... I guess not all of them, but some of the cards care about sacking artifacts or creatures. So being able to sack it to the Reno and Rude was pretty cool. You could also sacrifice the 1/1 creature to the Sephiroth and still keep the equipment around, so that was cool as well. The Arimen can sack the equipment or the creature part and get value that way as well. So there's a lot of good ways to use these job select equipment to where even just the like 2-mana 2/1/1 seems decent here, which means that the new list was also pretty solid, but we just didn't draw it quite as often. Still a cool deck, still happy with the deck build. Could do some pretty sweet stuff. The games just didn't play out incredibly well for us, but a lot of that was just running up against some really, really powerful cards from our opponent. Like, I kept some greedy hands, but they basically always paid off. We drew kind of the right cards for them. It's more that our opponents, you know, played their big mythic bombs more often than we got to cast ours, so 3 and 3 is the final record today. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.